to the Fantasy Alarm MLB DFS podcast with hosts Jon Impemba and James Grande.
What's going on, FA Nation? Jon Impemba here with James Grande. Welcome into the MLB DFS Playbook podcast and live stream. We are recording here for Thursday's 6-game main slate over on DraftKings here on the Better Sports Network and Fantasy Alarm social channels. James, we might be overshadowed a little bit here today. It is the Hall of Fame game. First football game of the 2023 NFL season kicks off on Thursday, but you know, that just means that maybe there's some opportunities for us here on the MLB DFS slate. Maybe more people focus on some showdown lineups for football here tonight. Well, we can get an edge on the MLB slate, so we're breaking it down for everybody. 6 games, some pretty interesting matchups. Shohei Ohtani on the mound, leading all the names there. $11,000 on DraftKings here. So we'll break it all down for you. 6 games. Before we get into it, quick shout out to our friends over at Real Time Fantasy Sports. Go to rtsports.com/alarm, promo code alarm23. We'll get new users a 100% deposit match up to $200. They have DFS pick'em plays, player props. They also have, of course, best ball and seasonal fantasy contests that you can take advantage of with your deposit match. So go check it out over at rtsports.com/alarm, promo code alarm23. Get involved in everything great going on over there. So that said, switch our attention. DraftKings, 6 games. Let's talk about it here, James.
Yeah, you said NFL Showdown, and all I thought was Shohei, because that's who's taking the mound. That's who's taking the mound for the Angels on what day? Thursday.
Yeah.
Here, it's a long week, you know. Thursday, it's like
almost the weekend, which means nothing. But almost the weekend.
Almost the weekend. Yeah, interesting slate. 6 games, looking at some spreads, everything between 8 and 10 currently. Slate high, 10 implied runs in Reds Cubs, which to no surprise of I think either of ours is gonna probably pop off once again. You look Jameson Tyone versus Luke Weaver, not exactly the best matchups of pitchers, so should be a fun slate. Overall, I don't see, like, just diving into pitching, John, much that I love after Shohei Ohtani.
Listen, Urias has the spot. You know there will be rostership here.
Yeah, there will be.
But he certainly hasn't been the same guy this year as he had been in years prior. A couple of good starts. You know, Pittsburgh and the Mets look good. Baltimore got hammered. Toronto, But if he gets the win and it's Oakland, I think people are gonna go here. But it's certainly there's risk involved. 100%.
Yeah, and Oakland's been better against lefties for what it's worth. They've been okay against left-handed pitching. Yeah. So I agree on terms of the ownership. I just it scares me going 9,800 for a guy who has been a shell of himself this year.
Yeah, I agree with you. But to your point, there's not a lot of surefire plays. Sonny Gray against St. Louis, if they let him go deep enough in the game, sure, maybe there's potential for him at 94, but he's $9,400 for Sonny Gray. That's not a great price tag here. Mitch Keller gets Milwaukee. Remember the start Mitch Keller got off to? And we're oh my God, Cy Young. And then he's looking a lot more like Brad Keller these days. And, shots fired. But man's been terrible for the last couple of starts here. Now going into a hot Milwaukee team in Milwaukee. I think we're more likely to be playing some Willy Adames here on this slate than we are playing Mitch Keller. So, I'm with you there. Christian Javier has not been the same pitcher this year. Going up against the Yankees lineup. Wu has the Angels, a lot of strikeout upside here, but again, he's been falling off of late. No strikeouts in his start against Arizona should be concerning to people. So I'm with you. There is not a lot to love here. I looked at potentially going to Adrian Hauser.
Yeah.
At $5,200. This is a guy that has historically pitched better at home, and Pittsburgh kind of sucks.
They do suck.
on a smaller slate, like playing Ohtani, Hauser, and just figuring out your hitting, I think could be a way to go.
I don't hate it because I think we're just kind of taking darts anyway at pitcher. Pittsburgh has ranked near the bottom of every offensive category for the better half of 2 months now, at least since their like fall from the top of the standings.
He's had some tough luck here too. Obviously, the Atlanta game, the most recent start, not great. He had 22 fantasy points and a no decision against Atlanta because he had a ceiling 10 strikeout game. But then a no decision Cincinnati had 12 fantasy points. He gets a win there, 16. No decision against the Cubs, 1 earned run over 5 innings. He gets a win there, 15 fantasy points. Gets a win against the Mets, 18. So, like, the potential is definitely there for 15 fantasy points, maybe higher against Pittsburgh. So,
yeah, and he's 5,200 as the kicker too. Liberatore, Minnesota is interesting if he is fully stretched out. He hasn't pitched in the majors in a month, so obviously he should be stretched out. You know, we know what Minnesota is, and they are a team that strikes out a boatload against left-handed pitching. So I could also see a scenario where like Liberatore is someone I punt. I would, John, circle back to Christian Javier for a second. Look, the Yankees are an absolute mess in pretty much every facet of the word right now. And to give Javier a little bit of credit, he has been better lately. 14 and a half fantasy points in 3 straight starts. He's coming off 9 strikeouts in his last outing, which gives him 5+ in 3 straight starts. And again, the Yankees have just been one of the worst, if not the worst team in baseball hitting over the last God knows how long. I mean, insert no Aaron Judge. That's pretty. And I know Judge is back, but like they're giving Judge extra time off here with being, still suffering from the foot and toe. So, I would probably play Christian Javier. I suspect he'll get some solid ownership, 8,600, just given. And if you remember, I know it's apples to apples. He did have the combined no hitter in Yankee Stadium last year. Here he had, and again, last year was a different year. I understand it, but 13 strikeouts, no hitter. Houston threw against the Yankees last year, so just throwing that out there as
well. Yeah, interesting. Could be a play there, but again, on a smaller slate, there aren't a lot of places to go. So, kind of where I'm kind of looking at. Let's move on over to the hitters. Again, on a smaller slate, when there's not a lot of guys we like pitching, generally means there's a lot of guys we like targeting. We have yet another lefty on the mound for Oakland. So on a smaller slate, Mookie Betts, Will Smith, Freddie Freeman, Rosario, maybe JD Martinez. Like the Dodgers are just going to all fill up, I think, some lineups, especially if you go the Ohtani Hauser route, you'll have plenty of cash to do it.
Yeah, I think the Dodgers are going to be really popular. I suspect both the Reds and the Cubs are also going to be really popular. Luke Weaver is taking the mound on one side, and Jameson Taillon is taking the mound on the other. So, the one thing we know about Taillon is the lefties, Votto, Ellie De La Cruz specifically in the infield are going to be 2 of the better infield plays. And then on the Cubs side, I mean, take your pick.
Yeah, I'm pulling it up right now. Weaver, Woba against lefties here, 373, 524 slug. And then against righties, it's a 414 Woba and a 621 slug against righties for Weaver. So,
Warner, Morel, Dansby.
Load them up. Javier will hit from the other side. But, exactly. That's been
the better side for Javier this year. 250 ISO, 378 Woba against right-handed pitching this year. Yeah. So, and we saw him hit 6th. We saw him hit 6th against. And is Bellinger still first base eligible? Like literally the entire Cubs infield is back in play as well.
1,000% with you on that one. Value wise, again, we mentioned some of these guys. Javier is still $4,200, so will be an interesting kind of spot to attack here. Any like standout value plays for you? Like Rengifo continues to hit well. Woo. Any interest there for Rengifo at 35?
USOB. That was exactly where I was going. So I'm looking up the splits because Brian Wu has been woefully bad
Ooh.
against lefties this year. I'm pulling up the splits. Okay, John, this is not Chris Bassett
Sure.
that I'm about to read off.
Sure.
Okay, these are not Chris Bassett numbers. 390 ISO, 518 WOBA against left-handed bats this year.
Not good.
Unfortunately,
It's wrong split
that
side,
we
right?
cannot play. Well, we can't play Shohei. That's the first. That was
True.
my first unfortunate that we can't play Ohtani. But we can get to some of this cheap. The Angels are really cheap. Rengifo 35, you mentioned. Eduardo Escobar had a really good day on Wednesday. He has been like weirdly productive. When he's good, he's good.
Yeah.
He has 2 14-plus fantasy point games over his last 5. Moustakas is 2,900. He's hitting 300 over his last 10 games. I think the Angels are actually a really, really interesting lefty. Like, if you need cheap bats, because we just talked about it, the Dodgers are back in play. There's expensive Reds. There's expensive Cubs. We haven't even talked about Houston outfielders yet. Like, it's going to be a very expensive slate for us. Unfortunately, we can't play Ohtani, but we can play the rest of that cheap infield that the Angels do.
Yep, I'm with you there. Let's move on over then to the outfield here. Again, top end guys, Mookie Betts. The numbers against lefties are just insane here. Hopefully he's not due for a day off anytime soon, because I would love JP Sears gives up a lot of home runs. So all in there. You had times this year had touted Clark Schmidt, but looking down the barrel of Jordan and Tucker and this Astros team, probably no go, right?
No, I'm not like, I don't think I'd go full bore Houston, because he has been so good against righties, and that's kind of held up.
But Tucker and
now
Alvarez
the power
on the left side. So,
but Tucker and Alvarez is like, if you're, I would 2-man that. 219 ISO allowed, 381 WOBA to left-handed bats. Now righties do have a 173 ISO. That's come around for righty bats, but like the lefty numbers date back to last year too, and he was primarily coming out of the bullpen. So Jordan and Tucker are 2 elite plays, both scorching hot too. Like, both guys that I've always said, like, Tucker's cooled off a little bit because he was like uncontrollably hot, but now Jordan's picking up off where he left off.
Yeah, 100% there. Another shout out to that Milwaukee team, right? Yelich is here. We didn't talk about Adames. We mentioned him very early, but like Adames would be a guy that we're in on at $4,900 here. Carlos Santana, someone that we'd probably take a peek at here at first base. Pretty cheap.
Revenge.
Yeah,
revenge.
Pretty cheap at $3,800. But then you have Christian Yelich at $56. Sale Frelick down there. Where is he down? $4K. What's his price tag at these days? Frelick
is 39
day to day. I guess we'll see what happens. Will didn't play on a Wednesday with a bruise, so we'll see if he's in the lineup. But I think that Milwaukee here could be a little contrarian, because people see like a $9,500 pitcher and don't want to go against him. But like I'd play Milwaukee here.
To your point, lefties this year, 217 ISO, 349 against 349 WOBA against Keller. Last 30 days, Chris Bassett, like 382 ISO, 459 WOBA for left-handed bats against.
I like that. I like that number a lot. And then you have obviously Bellinger here at 52. A guy that we're going to probably try to find ways to get in the lineups. Fraley and Friedel will get in there against Kion.
Yes.
100%.
Yes, they will.
Chas McCormick, best player on Houston, but again, too bad it's got a righty, because he mentioned Schmidt just absolutely handcuffing those guys. But 2 home runs and a stolen base on a Wednesday slate for Chas McCormick here.
Houston and Atlanta are so far above the rest of the league in everything that they do. Like, just with the people that they get. And just like Chas McCormick is just your fourth outfielder, and then suddenly
them all,
dude, and then he's just suddenly just as good as anyone else on their team. It's like, okay,
like they don't really play Jokes and Myers all the time, right? And those 2 guys are just ridiculous. So
yep.
Yep.
They probably play every day for most every team in baseball.
Grichuk here is 4K. You mentioned Angels against Woo. Spot for that.
I like the lefties more, but if you're playing a stack, like
where's our guy Moniak here? Is day to day $5,100, but Guess if he plays, you'll be in there.
Yeah. Oh yeah. If he plays 5,100, I'd still play. He's still hitting 317 on the year, dude.
Yeah.
Like what a season he's having.
Swinsky still has a lot of power, so if you're not playing Hauser, can always one off our guy Jack here. What other names for you?
Chris Taylor, Brett Rooker, both in the same game,
Sure.
different matchups, just for power upside. Both hit lefties with a
Ooh,
lot of power.
Willie B at 32.
Yeah, Willie B 32 is a really good one. The Reds are a really good play. The Reds are a really good play here. Tyone still has like abysmal numbers against left-handed pitching, so I'm gonna pull them up, or left-handed hitting rather. James Tyone. Yeah, 274 ISO allowed, 399 WOBA, really high fly ball rate. And anytime we don't know what the status of the wind's going to be, it doesn't look like there's any wind. They've already released the total at this time, but it's 10.
Right.
So, could a win baked in there? Maybe.
You liked Willie Castro when we broke this slate down yesterday because Liberatore was out there. Willie Castro back probably.
Sure.
4,600.
Sure.
I got nobody else though for value down here. Anybody for you? Michael Taylor, I guess, $2,200.
Michael Taylor, yeah, he gets a lefty. He's been fine against lefties. Ramon Laureano is up there a little bit higher.
Sure, third 27. Yeah,
he should start against a lefty.
Myers a lefty now. Jolks and Myers are righties.
No, they're all the same except they're all,
right.
Part of the cog.
True. Maybe Henry Davis, I guess.
Maybe Henry Davis.
All right, let's build a lineup. We got to plug Ohtani. Are we going to go it? Ohtani Hauser, or what are you feeling for your SP2 here?
I mean, we can mess around with Hauser because we also think there's a live chance he gets a win here.
I think so.
With how Milwaukee's been, or how bad Keller's been.
So if we do Ohtani Hauser, we got a catcher here.
Might as well just play. Let's just say Blake Calrelli is going to homer, but don't because we're playing
Ohtani. Yeah. Does Theis play here? 36.
Probably. That's another lefty. He's just been woeful.
Yeah.
We were getting away with all the Angels catchers. They could do no wrong, from O'Hop to I was going to say we probably just punt Endy Rodriguez again, but we're playing.
I don't think Hauser's going to throw a shutout, so I'm okay. Best case scenario, maybe they play Amaya against Weaver. Could go Jeffers against Jeffers here, 2,500.
Yeah. Let's play Jeffers. That's a great one. He's been great.
Yeah, Jeffers
he's been great.
Mm-hmm.
3 stolen bases over his last 10 games, just out of the blue as well.
He's legit. Were we going to spend up for Betts at second, or did we have another?
Yeah, I figured spend up at second for Betts because I don't know if you agreed, but 2 of our outfield spots, or at least one for the Reds guys, Fraley or Friedel, were like.
I was going to play Benson too at 32.
So either 2 Reds outfilders were kind of taking up spots. Yeah. So yeah, Mookie at second.
Okay.
And I put Benson Fraley. Okay. I prefer Fraley a little bit.
Benson Fraley. Okay. Let's see.
Still have a good amount of money.
We're gonna have dollars to play with for sure. Did we want to go against Keller with Yelich?
I would do that.
Right, because we do Adames.
And Santana is 38. Yeah. He's cheap. He's the cheapest of all.
3,300 third baseman finishes off the line.
Eduardo Escobar or
Moose.
Yeah.
Moose, 29.
Yeah, or Moose. Yeah, one of the. Yeah, yep.
I mean, we got.
He's on the. We're on the loose.
We're on the loose. We got three Brewers. Got a little probably wraparound, likely a wraparound. Benson, Fraley. Friedel leads off them, so Benson Friedel's probably the better stack there.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, we could do that.
Same price. Or do you want to do? Would you do Steer? No, we want
the lefties. We want the lefties.
Yeah. All right, so Friedel and Benson then there. As our little 2-man Cincy, we got our top pay up of Betts We got a one-off Jeffers. We got $500 left over. I don't know if that gets us anything in catcher. 3K. Not really.
Dude, Jeffers is hitting 400.
Yeah, dude.
We're lucky to over his last 10. We're lucky to get anybody
Okay.
productive at catcher these days.
And then we got Ohtani and Hauser. So that's a look at an example lineup here for this 6-game slate. James and I will be back live at 5 p.m. Eastern with full lineups. Any weather updates, news updates that come across, we'll have it for you. If you have any questions throughout the day, get us in Discord. Find us on Twitter. My name's spelled correctly on this one. James is right in my name tag here for the show. But you can get him on Twitter at @the_real_grande. Get me on Twitter at JMPemba777. Like and subscribe to the show if you haven't done already. We'd appreciate it a lot. We'll be back at 5 o'clock Eastern. We'll talk to you guys later.